Hi, Stu Kamens here at the home of a legend in the comedy world, not a household name, but a legend to comedians and die-hard comedy fans everywhere. He was one of the original Texas Outlaws, and he still is an outlaw of sorts from what I've come to know of him. And I'm an outlaw, and, well, what the hell, I'm going to introduce you to an outlaw I've always wanted to meet. It's kind of like Jesse James meeting Butch Cassidy or something like that. From one outlaw to another. I'm at the home in Las Vegas. I'm at the Las Vegas home of Mr. Ron Schock, everybody. Ron Schock. For the people who don't know you outside of diehard comedy fans and comedians, who are you, Ron?
Well, we talked about this off camera, and I started down in Houston with that group. Started in late '82. Hayden Rourke got me in comedy. Hayden Rourke is the guy who played Colonel Bellows in I Dream of Jeannie. You remember that old sitcom? And he was the psychiatrist. He was a friend of mine, and we had lunch together. And I tell him a story, and at the end of the story he's laughing, and he goes, "You ought to be a stand-up comic, just how they clear blue sky." And I said, "Well, how do you do that?" And he said, "Well, they got this comedy workshop here in town. You can go down and sign up for amateur night." I'd never been in a comedy club. I was 40 years old. I was a successful businessman at the time, but I was kind of on sabbatical. I knew a life change was coming. I just didn't know what it was. And I'd never been in a comedy club. So on a Tuesday night, I go into a comedy club, Comedy Workshop Annex in Houston. And it was like a light shone on me. He said, "This is what you're supposed to do." And that was on a Tuesday. I signed up for amateur night and went up on Sunday, the last. I said I'd never seen a fight in a comedy club. I was wrong, Stu. I saw a fight in a comedy club the very first night I went up. And it was among the comics. And they start a fist fight. I'm on stage at 1:30 in the morning. All that's left in the audience are two people back here who have been for the whole show. It was a horrible show. It was terrible. And they're staying out of sheer obstinacy. And there's four people over here, and the only reason they're still here is they're too drunk to move. And there are three people down here who are friends of one of the comics that's already been up, and out of courtesy, they're staying for the last guy. And my wife, and the kid that's going to go up next, and his girlfriend. That's the entire audience. Except for a bunch of comics who have been drinking because of this horrible show, and a fake fight turns into a real fight, and they come crashing into the audience, and they knock over Heather, who is my wife, little table in front of her, and fall down on the ground. It's Jimmy Pineapple, who later on became one of the Texas Outlaw comics. And Jimmy's laying there, and I say to my wife, I said, of all the things I expected, this wasn't one of them. And walked off the stage, and we're going to just walk out the door. I won't even stay and acknowledge anybody, because I just panic. And as we're going out the door, Jimmy Pineapple, who's laying on the ground, just sprawled out, drunk as a skunk, looks up at Heather and goes, "Come back and see me sometime, babe." I said, "I want to hang out here." I'm going to enjoy these people. That was on a Sunday. On Monday, I officially resigned from my position as vice president of the publishing company and became a stand-up comic. And a week later, Brett Butler started. And she and I became friends because we were the outcasts of the group. And the established comics there, they didn't associate with the new people at all. And I was an old married white guy, and she was a young woman. So obviously neither one of us could be funny, because everybody knows old white men aren't funny. They're married happily, and everybody knows that you got to have a dick to be funny. So they don't talk to Brett. And it takes a while for me to become accepted. But I got really accepted when I went on a road trip with Bill Hicks. It was the very first road trip I ever did, which is immortalized in two things. There's a clip on YouTube of Bill telling the story about me and him taking LSD at this horrible club, and he's got the town wrong. Bill tells the story wrong. That's the damnedest thing. He tells the story wrong. If he told it the right way, he's much more of a hero than he makes himself out to be in the story.
What story was it? I'm sorry.
We play. This is the real story. No, I can't tell this story because it's on the Hicks Chronicle. But Bill and I, there's Bill's version on the internet.
Is it a joke of his?
No, it's the truth.
Oh, it's a story.
It's a story.
Okay, I see.
We play this club one night, and I get attacked on stage, and we have to run for our lives, and they send us back into it again, and Bill and I take LSD before the show, and because we're trying to decide what to do when the booker tells us if we don't do the second night, we'll never work for him again, and he had all the work down there, right? So we got to do this second night, and we're going, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? These people fucking hate us. They don't think we're funny. They physically hate us. We're going to get hurt. What are we going to do? And I don't know Bill well, and I don't know the other guy, Bill Silver, very well. And I go, well, I'm an old-time hippie, and I've always known if I knew the day I was going to die, I'd take LSD because I figured it would make the transition easier. I'm already out of this reality, and so I'm really ready to go into the afterlife. And Bill says, have you got enough for two? I should have said, I'm just talking out my ass. I'm really not going to take LSD in this fucking bar in Lake Charles, Louisiana, but I can't say that now, right? I said, of course I've got enough for two. And I said, I always come prepared. And Bill says, well, if you'll do it, I'll do it. And I said, I'll do it. I'm going to fucking do it. And so he and I do LSD. Bill Silver, the other guy's going, you guys are crazy. You guys are crazy. You're not really going to do that. Now, both of us are committed, so we do it. And Bill tells, one part of the story he does have right is the guy comes in and sits down next to us. And Bill and I, the acid has come on, and it's like people are melting, and and it's not right, and